Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we worked on updating DTracker to be current to the current release. I think it's the current release, 42.3. And today we're going to be documenting some conflicting quests in German, and if we get to it, French in DTracker. So as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, what do we have here? Niner says, morning, hello, or the sun is already set here in the Netherlands, but good day to you, sir. And Tillerian says, yay, at my saying I'm probably going to be butchering some German today. Well, it is what it is. Unfortunately, if you pronounce German with a Dutch accent, you do not get good German. Oh well. We're here in the word horde of ... Gopatham, because we're going to do almost nothing in-game today, so it seems like a nice, calm, quiet place to park ourselves. And we're here with our trusty goose. Oh, which type of goose is that? Let's see. Collections. I should really memorize that as Shift J. This is our decorated goose, I believe. Yep, with the bow tie, not the normal one or the white one. We're here with the decorated goose, and we are here with the DTracker plugin. So, what is a conflicting quest? Well, if you did not know, there are quests and deeds in Lord of the Rings Online that have the same name. One of the most, one of the ones that comes to mind right now is Eyes of the Enemy, which, okay, really feel like that's one of them. Okay, how about Orc Slayer? I know we have plenty of those. So there's a quest called Orc Slayer. There's also several deeds called Orc Slayer. Now, the Orc Slayer Advanced, we don't have to worry about because there's no quest called Orc Slayer, parentheses, Advanced. But we have Orc Slayer, in this case of Breland, Lunlands, North Downs, Angmar, Dunland, and also Lothlorien and Moria. And it's not until you get into Eastern Rohan where you start seeing that differentiated Orc Slayer of the Easternnet, Orc Slayer of Wildemar, Orc Slayer of the Westernnet. And at that point, there's no more conflict. And this all happens because in Lord of the Rings Online, quests and deeds under the covers are kind of the same thing. And so there's a single chat tab that we can pay attention to called Quest. Let's see if we can go ahead and look at that. So if we look at the chat filters, there is a filter for Quest, but there's no corresponding filter for Deed, because under the cover, deeds are a type of quest. Or maybe quests are a type of deed. Probably the other way around. And so because we can't hook into the API directly and say, please tell us when a deed or a quest has been completed, we just look at chat and we see, oh, you've completed something called Orc Slayer. Cool. But we don't know which of the deeds that is, and we don't know if that was the deed or the quest. So, we have in DTracker a section that's just called Conflicting Quests, and for that language it says which things are the same. Let's take a look at that. Conflicting quests in English. So what do we have? We have a table up here, which gives us the thing, what we are looking for, and its corresponding internal quest ID. And we use that as a lookup down below for some basic information so that when we're popping it up to the user, we can say, hey, the thing that you did you just talk to Imrahil after the Battle of Pelennor Fields? Or did you complete whatever this was? Now, what I don't have... Oh, of course, after the battle. Gondorf Harnorian after the battle is the deed. Well, now I'm curious. What is that deed? After the battle. Well, that is less helpful because I don't read much German. Okay, so you've done much to aid the people, so you're completing the interlude, The Hands of the Healer, Secret Return, and A Dream of Cold Silence. So this is Very similar. This is definitely completing quest in the Houses of Healing after the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. But after the battle, the quest, I took that away. After the battle, the quest is, among other things, Imrahil summon you to aid the great city, and do other things. Cool. Speak with Imrahil. Yeah, we can see definitely after the battle stuff. Neat. So, in English, if you complete something called After the Battle, it would seem like we don't currently have a good way to resolve which one of those that was. Now, Treebeard is, we're actually able to get to that very soon, so it's the first time I've had a character able to experience that live, and I'll be able to double check that it is actually a conflict and not something that maybe completes at the same time. Anyway, so that's what this is. This is a list of things that could be either a quest or a deed, and some information to present to the user so they can identify, what did I just do? So, Eyes of the Enemy. It's Instances, Minds of Moria. I was looking at Landscape. Cool. Minds of Moria, Eyes of the Enemy. So this is Orc Skirmishers within Filkashan, but it's also defeat birds in Trollshaws. You're almost guaranteed, and there's further discrimination we could do on this. If you are lower than level 45, you cannot have just completed Eyes of the Enemy, I don't think. But I don't know. Maybe there's some weird way where you could get into into Filkashan. I guess let's take a look. Phil Gashan. What's the minimum level? Minimum level is 58. So yeah, I think it'd be safe to say probably you can't join that if you're level 44. That needs some testing, but we could add that to Deed Tracker to say, hey, if their current level is less than 45, then it was definitely the quest. For now, we just have the pop-up windows like, hey, was it the quest or the deed? Let's take a look at that actually. What does it look like when we do that? I have a debug mode here, so we're going to just say Eyes of the Enemy. Hey, I just completed that. Bam. And what we get is this. Deed or quest. There's both a quest and a deed with the same name. Which did he complete? Instances, Minds of Moria, Eyes of the Enemy, or Trollshaw, Eyes of the Enemy, repeatable. Defeat 6 Hendravel in the Burning Gorges. So, the problem that we're facing today is right now the text that shows up in this quests area is kind of hand generated. Now it's pretty automatable, but I haven't automated it yet. I'm going through that process of kind of figuring out what should this look like so that if I do try to automate it, I'll have a good example to compare it to. So what we do is we have the quest category, the quest name, and if it's repeatable or not, and then an indented little description of what the quest can consist of. And for that, I just copy a likely text out of the data files and call it good enough. And the deed entry is just the lookup for the deed log. Excuse me. So which of these tabs, instances, which of these pages, Minds of Moria, and then Eyes of the Enemy. Now, of course, I have completed Eyes of the Enemy. Maybe. Eyes of the Enemy. Hooray. 80 out of 80. Cool. So that's the basic one. Now, if you want a slightly harder one, we have like Orc Slayer complete. And then we get a much more complete listing. I think Wolf or Warg Slayer are one of the hardest ones. I think it's Warg Slayer. There we go. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different deeds with that name and also one quest. And again, some of these could be level locked, but the North Downs Warg Slayer quest, you're going to be likely to the similar level as the Lone Lands deed or the North Downs deed. So if I could have a talk with a certain turbine employee from 10 to 15 years ago, I would say maybe don't do that. But it is what it is. Oh, neat. Tellurian remembers that the quest for the Spring Festival Skirmish conflicts with the deed for 300 tasks. And Tellurian, did you have that experience on German or on English? Let's come on down to that. That was spring. So that was Spring Bees Business in a German client. Awesome. That's what I'm working on today. Is I have automated the finding of the conflicting things, and now I'm just trying to add them on in. So, Bees Big Business. Let's take a look at that. What is the deed for that? Let's come on in here. Nope, I'm done with that. Go away. Okay. Skirmishes. Nope, no longer eyes. Bees of business. Okay, Lost pesky critters. Really? Well, let's take a look at that. In German, Lost pesky critters is okay. We're looking at something else. Interesting. So that triggered because interesting. How do you say that? Fleißiges? Bienchen. Interesting. Let's come look at the chat logger then. So when we are looking for quest, when we receive a chat type, we're looking for a few different things. So if the chat type is standard, then we are filtering it for some things. If the chat type is quest, then we're doing other things. And in this case, we are filtering quest. So what's a task indicator? Wow. I just kind of got lazy on tasking there. Okay. Quick pause. Let's find task. Cool. So how was I using that? Task indicator. And I was just finding that in there. Fascinating. Okay. So there's 484 of those. Is that a reasonable thing to do? If we look for task, and you know what? I didn't double check. Is there a space in there? There is. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and cut out everything that's not a quest. Okay, so we find 505 things that way. Find 484 things that way. Oh, some are false positives though. Okay. We're gonna do it slightly differently. 504, 484. So what's different, do we think? Well, you know what? I don't have to guess. We're just going to use Excel. Tellurian said, did not check if the naming conflict is also present in English. Tellurian, there are some odd, slight differences between the naming of things in English and German. So some of the things that are conflicts in German are not in English. And I'll give you an example, is the deeds for some of the skirmishes, actually. For instance, the Battle of the Deep Way. I'm almost certain the corresponding quest is just Battle of the Deep Way. No article the. And in German, they unified them, so they're both named the same thing. So they are a conflict in German, where they are not a conflict in English, which is just, you know, I don't know who's at fault there. Probably English with the missing article, but it's very silly. Okay, so what is different with these things? We're just going to go, whoops. Let's get rid of those trailing quotes. What I'm curious about is are these things different? Well, that will definitely do it. Okay, I was finding some stuff I should not have found. However, what else? Ah, yeah, there we go. Well, I'm going to say then that that was pretty reasonable. Julian says, if I recall correctly, the skirmishes might have been converted during Codemaster's watch, so probably unification during translation, not thinking of people like you depending on unique names. Well, the whole point of this conflicting quest subsection is that we have a way out if there are conflicting names, but it's always nice if they don't do conflicting names. Or the name of the quest and the name of the deed are the same, but the completion of the one relies on the completion of the other. Like, there's plenty of quest deed pairs, like completing tier 2 or tier 3 of an instance, where you complete the quest, and that is the prerequisite for completing the deed. So kind of definitionally, there's no conflict because they are paired up in such a way that you can't do one without the other, and you must do them both essentially simultaneously. For that, no problem. Totally fine with them being the same. But if you have a quest in the Troll Trials and a deed in Mines of Moria instance cluster, there are so many words out there. Use some different ones. Okay, so we have a task, and what I would like to do is go ahead and grab the German equivalent, if there is a single one, that we can use instead. Tellurian might be beating me to it, but we just want to know what that is. So, I'm in the deeds, not the quests. And monkey filth. Okay, great. And this is again category 112. So let's go ahead and grab all of those. And it looks like Auftrag is what we are doing. Alright, I found 409 of them. That's a little concerning. Oh, of course, Auftrag der something. Okay, so Auftrag can't even do Auftrag space. Ooh, that is something. Okay. New question. For every quest in here, are there any that use Auftrag that aren't tasks? And the answer is probably almost certainly yes. In fact, let's... Oh, let's make a mistake. Oh, there we go. I was going to say let's make a mistake. Well, I'll do it again. Just why not? What I want to know is in all of the quest names, do we see that? And I probably eliminated enough context here where it's going to be a problem to actually backtrack it. Yeah. Oh, that's a bounty. That's fascinating. Okay. My goal was to not search for a deed if it seems to be a task. But that may be something that just can't be easily done. And might be a false optimization anyway. So in English, the assumption was always that there'd be a task colon space, capital T task colon space. I'm not 100% sure that's true. But again, it was just meant to be a heuristic. If it does have that, it's probably this thing. But then that raised the assumption of could we even do that for French and German? And the answer is I don't know. So we're going to say to do. Is this meaningful in German or French? Find out. Also, does it actually save any time? If this is useful, should we just have a list of task quests? Okay, but that got me distracted. So what we are looking for is completed in the current one. And then deed name equals a substring of that. And chat complete, that is going to be one of those. Yep, okay. So we're replacing the complete with that. And we replace the new line with that, and then I guess Telerian, I'm a little concerned that I don't fully understand why that would have happened. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pretend we are in German language equals DE. So we're going to go ahead and unload this. Then we're going to reload this. And what? Oh, of course, can't do it there. because some things look at the one and some things look at the other. It even says so right there. Great. Okay, so what we want to do is double check the exact spelling of the one that Tellurian mentioned. Okay, great. Nice spelling. And we're going to come on in and try to complete that. Okay, that is correct because that was an exact match for the tasks at hand. So that is good. Go ahead and show me that in the tracker. And we're going to go ahead and undo those. Great. And now the other one. Oops. Oh, B's big. Wait, B's big business is exactly that. Yeah. Okay. I see the problem. Whoops. Okay, so we can see that is included in the newly found conflict. So we're on the same page. 821 and 262. Yep, we're on the same page, Tellurian. The automatic conflict finder did find that, and that's very interesting that B's big business turned into Busy Bee? That's 300 tasks. Okay, we're going to come back in here, come back in to English. The Busy Bee. Bee's big business became the Busy Bee. Fantastic. Yeah, Tellurian just checked if all tasks in German contain Auftrag, and it does not. Yeah. And that's just the nature of plugin development. Sometimes, especially when you're thinking, oh, what can I do with text manipulation, is something might work consistently in one language, in this case English, and it could just be a flawed concept for the other languages. Something I didn't even think about until we got into other language support was I had in my head that every deed has a unique name, which is great until you look at Slayer deeds. Specifically Slayer of Breland, which is conjugated based off of the gender of your character, or in this case, the sex of your character in French and German. Fantastic. Just not a thing that was in my head as an English speaker until we got into this. And okay. So that had to go out the window, that idea that there was a single canonical name for a deed. Tellurian says at least 3 Swanfleet tasks contain Aufgabe instead of Auftrag. Okay, well, in the data files, it's not a problem because the data files, they all have the same category. The problem is we're doing textual matching within the game and trying to figure out if that's something we should ignore or not. And I think the answer is probably not. Okay, so this is probably unnecessary. I was playing around with it one day. I was just doing a lot of task turn-ins, you know? Yeah, Tellurian says the Auftrag might be a prefix or a suffix or something in between. The thing about the English is that in general it was task : space, but... Sober Maniac asks me a question, possibly thinking that I work for SSG. So first of all, I do not work for SSG. I'm just a fan of both the game and writing plugins for Lord of the Rings Online. So I don't have any insider knowledge that hasn't been put out there to the community. That being said, we have a roadmap that they have put out. So let's go take a look at that. LOTRO.com. And I believe on there they talk about the possibility of a level update. There we go. So this is, I'll put a link to this in chat. There's versions in French and German if you prefer those. And we can see that within the context of this roadmap, there is a level cap increase planned. However, they're also aware of that idea that numbers, it can be kind of intimidating to jump into the game and know that, oh, there's 160 levels to go until you reach the end of the server's leveling scheme. And recently they went ahead and condensed down some of the numbers that were ballooning so that you had mobs with millions or possibly billions of hit points. And they kind of reined that in a little bit. So it's not impossible that they might do something similar to leveling as well, though I don't know of any announcement of actually announcing plans to do so. So that being said, they typically do level cap increases of at least of increments in chunks of 5 or 10. So if the current cap is 150, then you could expect the next one to be 155 to 160 if it follows that scheme. Yes, as Solarian points out, and raises that stupid turtle's health to 17 million. Yeah, I actually helped someone out in that instance not that long ago over on, I think, Treebeard. Must have been on Treebeard. Where they had fought all the way to the end, and then you got the silly turtle, and I was able to go in there and help them out with my much higher level minstrel. So yes, this year they are doing a new thing where they're front loading a little bit more information for the first 2 quarters, and then kind of dialing back the granular detail for quarters 3 and 4, just because they know that life happens and different things get in the way of plans or jump in the middle of things in priority level. So they do expect to put out another expansion that includes a level cap increase that explores new areas, but they're not doing a whole bunch of detail there compared to some of the more detail in quarter 1, quarter 2. Better things can't keep going up levels forever. At some point, there will be a stop and probably a stat crunch. Last I checked, there are many numbers above 150, so there is room to grow. But I appreciate the sentiment that at a certain point, it does start to feel a little silly. And certainly they could just divide your level by 10 and be done. Like, I could be level 10.5 right now, that's fine. But I'm not sure that's really what people are looking for. So they know that people are concerned with the idea of a level crunch, but SSG tends to be pretty conservative about announcing things. And they tend to wait until things are pretty polished or ready to go before being, surprise, here's what we're going to do. Instead of saying, oh, we're going to do this thing and it's going to take 3 years, and then maybe they disappoint people because it couldn't come into play. So, yes, they could very well do something about the span of levels from 0 to 150, but that's not currently on the table that I know of. I'm a little bit behind on watching Court of the Ring streams Friday, noon Eastern time, for those people who want to get it straight from the horse's mouth, which is not for me. But awesome. Thanks for the question, Silver Maniac. Short answer, no. There will be more levels after the current levels, though they may not be named quite the same things that they are right now. That could always change. Certainly there are other ways mechanistically to design a game that don't involve leveling up a character, or at least leveling them up in such a bulk way. You could design entirely different systems of improving your character. But we have not heard anything about that. So that's the letter from Orion. That includes some of the details of what they're doing, and that is my go-to for some of their stated intents. Cool. Okay, so what are we doing? What I've done is I have, excuse me, I have written up a tool that is going through and comparing every quest name, in German in this case, to every deed name, and in those places where they're the same, I've been spitting out, or attempting to spit out, automatically the information needed to go into the conflicting quests language code.lua file. We can see the entry that Tellurian was mentioning is in here. It's going to be in here. What we're missing, though, is, like I said before, some of the hand-coded information. So there's two things specifically that I'm interested in for all of these, and then a few extra ones sometimes. So let's take a look at this. We have comments in here, and what these comments are meant to be is, where do you find the corresponding deed? And by default, we don't have that, so we just spit out the name of the deed. Die Belagerung von Gondemann. And what I would like to have this spit out is probably skirmishes, skirmish instances, but the German version of that. So we're just going through it and we're grabbing that information and encoding it here in this comment here as an example. So we're looking at 590. Awesome. So that's going to be skirmishes, skirmish instances, but the German thereof, and then the name of that. And I think this is something that can be done programmatically, but I haven't gone through the work to do that. And like I said, in order to make it programmatic, I'd like to first have something to compare it to make sure I have worked out the kinks of the code to do programmatically. So we're just going to walk through generating this kind of a little bit more by hand in the German. Okay, just to see what this looks like, we're going to go ahead and comment out the rest of these and see if I have any other syntax errors, and then let this thing go and generate its thing. It should probably stop running it under debug mode, though. It does not need to think about it. Hey, good toe. Yeah, I see you. It's part of a larger system that's generating things more broadly, and so it's doing lots of things that aren't specifically related to the conflicting quests yet. Cool. So we've got the English and the German. Coming on in here, we can see that we did not break anything in the English. And in the German, we can see we now have the fully qualified deed name, or FQDN. And what else do we have in here? We would like to have that quest name information. Like, what are we conflicting with? So the first part of that's pretty simple. The quest name is the same. What we would like to have is the area of the quest log that it's in, and also a little information about what the block is. So we need to grab that number. And we're going to come on in here and find something. So we're coming on in here to the, first of all, we're going to come into the English quest, so we know what this is. Oh, it's the Siege of Gondemann. Great. So the corresponding German quest should have some similar information. This is just the skirmish instance. Okay, great. We have marked it as is skirmish. Awesome. A lot of skirmish quests will have some sort of announcement at the end. You did it. You saved Gondemann. That comes right before the quest completes. And so that is a thing that we can go in and say, oh, we saw that, therefore we can suppress this acknowledgement. But it does require going into the skirmish and actually paying attention to these things. So we're going to push that part off until later. But that's the thing that we can do, is if it is a skirmish quest, we can look for that announcement text, and if we see it, we can squelch the whole dialogue because we know that that was the quest that just completed. However, the rest of it, it'd be nice if we could go ahead and generate that. So, we want something reasonable in this quest description that we can just pull from the German part. And this is where I have a little bit of a problem automating it. So ideally it'd be something like help mathy. Fend off the final assault. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. And that would be... Oops. Yeah, sure. So what we're looking for is this final one, fend off, final condition before the objectives. And then we just come to the German version of this. Nope. We're going to need just that quest ID. Great. We're going to come on in, and the final condition, yeah, that's fine for right now. And that can always be improved, but that, and Tellurian might be able to tell us whether that is a sensible objective for the quest. But that's what we would see, is that did he complete the quest where this is the objective, or did he complete the deed? Okay, we'll let that run in the background. In the meantime, Dagger Thief says, I wouldn't be mad at a level squished down to 70 or 75. Yeah, I get that. And something that's true about Lord of the Rings Online is that the early levels especially are very generous with their experience, which is why I often have a Stone of the Tortoise purchased for a character. Because if I'm running around in Breeland and I'm trying to do all of the quests in Breeland, I will shoot way past the level of the quests that I'm doing. Right, I'll do some level 20 quests, I'll do a few more level 20 quests, and the next thing you know, I'm 25 or 30, and I'm still doing level 20 quests, or I moved into the Lowlands, I'm doing level 25 quests, and now I'm 35. It's a whole thing. So, the Stone of the Tortoise is great for kind of managing that, but... I do wonder if that would be the same experience if you had some sort of a level squish, and what that would look like. Would all levels kind of squish the same? Would levels 1 to 50 kind of squish differently than levels 50 to 60? And what's up with that? But you have an expansion like the Siege of Mirkwood that goes from 60 to 65, and also includes Dunland, I want to say, and Advaithor Dunland. And what would that look like if you squished it? Is the whole expansion one level then? Or are all the expansions 5 levels regardless of what they were originally? Maybe you start Shadows of Angmar, maybe it's classic 1 to 50, and then everything's 5 levels from thereafter. Maybe you squish Angmar itself, Shadows of Angmar, maybe it's 1 to 30 now instead of 1 to 50, and everything kind of just squishes proportionally, and then everything's 5 levels after that. Actually, I'm kind of curious if the expansions page on the LOTRO wiki includes levels. Yeah, okay. So, Tellurian says, either way, some players will be unhappy. It's kind of the nature of change. Some people embrace it, and some people see the downsides more than the upsides. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Before the Shadow doesn't really count. 10 for Corsairs and 11 for Legacy of Morgoth. So if all of those were just squished down to 5 levels for their respective ones if they were above 5 levels. That's 55 levels on top of whatever the first, Shadows of Angmar is. So if you wanted to keep it down to 75 levels currently, then you'd be looking to kind of have the Shadows of Angmar experience down to something like 25. And then 5 levels for all the rest of that, and you're still up to 80 then. Which, maybe that's a reasonable number. 80 is definitely less than 150. But I do wonder, because Siege of Mirkwood and other expansions that you only have 5 levels in, there doesn't feel numerically like there's that big of a difference between 60 and 65. I think progression-wise, there can be a big difference if you're kitted out in level 65 endgame armor versus just at the beginning of 60. But I don't think it emotionally feels quite the same as when we're going from 85 to 95 in the Helm's Deep expansion, for instance. And that's interesting. Why does this not include 95 to 100 or 100 to 105? Aha. Because there's asterisks. Fascinating. Oh, you wacky dev team. Yeah, so Dagger Thief, I definitely hear that, and you're not the only person who said it, and I could see it myself. And I just don't know how it works in practice to get to something like the Siege of Mirkwood and say, cool, this covers levels 30 to 31 or something. I don't know if that's a satisfying player experience. A lot of players just love to see numbers go up, right? That's why we that's why we have so many numbers that can go up. And if you say to them, you go through this entire thing and your number goes up 1, look, it's not the worst thing in the world, but for some people that may not be as satisfying a player experience. And I think an answer could be to have more granular numbers, like tenths of levels instead of whole levels. Maybe that gets the same feeling, but your actual level, because it's divided by 10, isn't as big. Maybe that's, hits both ways. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have a good concept in my head of what this looks like with a max level of 75. How you break it up. And you don't have to break it up necessarily, except we have legendary servers that are doing slow unlocks of these zones. So as long as Lord of the Rings Online has these legendary servers, they do kind of have to address the answer, even if on standard servers it's not really a thing, right? Their standard servers are just whatever it is. Max level is whatever it is, and that's fine. But they do have to have that answer of how do those levels get divided up between all of these expansions. Tilian says, my concern since level 60 is every level cap increase will devalue older content. But I'm not sure, Tilian, what you mean by that. Do you mean it makes older content progressively easier? Like if you roll up into Mirkwood at level 150, that it's progressively easier than it was at 130 or 120? Well, will you answer that if you want to? I'm going to move on. Tilian says, look at Mordor. Angmar content is not played anymore. That kind of feels like the nature of MMO servers in general, though, is you have that hockey stick thing where as players level up, they will hit whatever the end game is for that server, and they'll kind of hang around doing that. And you tend to do whatever's end game and not necessarily go back and do older things. Unless you're doing like a LOTRO thing where everyone is Stone of the Tortoise and you're just doing Karn Doom at level 50 or other landscape things, landscape bosses. If I'm understanding what you're describing, I guess that's what I would expect. Is if the server level cap is 60, then the people that are doing end game content are going to be doing it at 60 and not necessarily at 50. And if they do go down to 50, that content's going to be markedly easier because that was fixed level content. At least I think it was. Let me come back in here. I mean, you do have that thing where some of these things are scaled instances and some of them are non-scaling, and the Angmar instances are non-scaling. You're going to go in there and you're going to do it at level 50, whereas some of the other stuff, you're going to go in there and you're going to be able to scale it up like the Siege of Mirkwood instances. So those are going to be evergreen. If you want to have end game content, you can do it at whatever your cap level is. I could go in there at level 105 right now and die. So I guess maybe I'm not hearing what your thought is, because it doesn't, that disconnect kind of makes sense in my head. Okay, that being said, we have a fully annotated, fully qualified comment here. We have the quest name and the description of what's going on there. And we're going to go ahead and move that on over, and save. Cool. So we're going to come on into the next thing. And a lot of these are skirmishes. The Brunnen Fort, the Ford of Brunnen, that's going to be a skirmish one as well. So, probably. So, let's come on in and take a look. The Fort of Brunnen. Now, that's category 102. Now, for quest categories, we can come in and say, oh, okay, that's a skirmish. Great. And, in fact, why am I doing that? In English. Okay, so we know that is Die Brunnenfort. Great. Let's come in and start adding and hitting these things. And there's a couple things here. We know that is a skirmish quest. So, that's another one where the quest is the Fort of Brunnen. Let's look at the deed real fast. Yeah, we can see the deed name is Fort of Brunnen. The quest name is the Fort of Brunnen. Fantastic. Yeah, Talarian says, currently to get to level cap, you need to do Moria, and Angmar is not a challenge, just a step on the way. Yeah, I hear you. The nature of how many MMOs are designed, Lord of the Rings included, is that when things go gray, mobs or quests, they just do not give you much, if any, experience. I think Lord of the Rings Online will actually give you a little bit of experience for a gray quest, nothing for gray mobs. But you can't practically get to 60 on gray quests alone, so you are incentivized to keep moving, move through Moria, or do things that are always on level, like missions and skirmishes, scaling instances. That's kind of the nature of things, is that you do need some intrinsic motivation to go and do lower level content, because the game itself isn't going to give you a lot of rewards for non-scaling content. You're going to go do Karn Doom. Cool, you're going to have a good time, I think. I love the instance. But until you get to return to Karn Doom, yeah, the rewards are going to be fixed at that level 50 stuff. So unless you're looking for mentoring the cowbell for your minstrel, maybe the rewards there aren't going to be fantastic. That was one of the reasons why I really enjoyed the Bombadil server and also Treebeard, is it gave... Bombadil server was just 1 to 50, so you had a lot of people who are really interested in that endgame experience, because that was the endgame experience, and then the server ended. But Treebeard, with 6 months per release, gives our group time to experience these things as much as we want, or as little as we want, before we move on to the next thing. And I would say... our group is a little bit slow sometimes, so like if it was longer than 6 months, we would probably be okay, and other people would probably riot. So 6 months, fine compromise. That was a thing we have noticed in our group, is that longer time between those releases definitely has given us a chance to play around with things we might not have paid attention to otherwise. Okay, so we have Fort of Brunnen. We're going to annotate some stuff. So this is the quest IDs. So forward of Brunnen, we're going to go ahead and mark that up. The forward of Brunnen inflicts in German, shakes fist in German. Cool. We're going to come on down here to the quest comments. We're going to go ahead and just add that in. So again, just that quest index. And that is also a skirmish instance. And then just the name of it. And this is where there could be some automation, I think, for something like that. Just that lookup. We have the information that we need to look up these things, but doing the full lookup just takes code that isn't written yet. And then the quest names. So we're going to go ahead and come back in here, grab that quest number. Awesome. And again, we need that name, Die Brunnenfurt. And I'm doing a double backslash here because C# is going to strip one of them off, and we need it to be a backslash n when it hits the destination. Okay, and now we just need to look up a meaningful description for that quest. So the Fort of Brunnen, what do we have here? Fend off the final assault. I mean, that's as good as anything, I guess. So that's the final condition before the end of the objectives. Okay. We're going to see a couple of those until we get a better set of German descriptions for the quests for these skirmishes. Okay. So we're just going to double check things while I grab myself a little drink here. There's a cat trying to squeeze itself behind little redhead over there. Good luck. I don't know if he knows what he's doing. Okay. So, we're going ahead and generated English. It is good. We're using that as sort of a checking for incorrect code changes. And then we have De Brunnenfurt. So we have this one, and down here, De Brunnenfurt, we have our comment. We know it's a skirmish, and we can see the quest name with a description. So, cool. We'll save that off. I'm going to circle back around for these skirmishes, and for those skirmishes where we aren't able to see an announce text to squelch it, I'll be interested in having maybe a better description of what's going on. Okay, what's going on with this? We can see I used a hyphenated preland, which is the English way of referring to it, instead of the German way. Can't do that. Okay, the next one. Let's see what this one is. Scouting Weathertop. This is category 116. The Rangers Offensive? My goodness. Okay, what does that conflict with? Weathertop Exploration. Okay, I gotta ask. Scouting Weathertop. Level 22. So it says, according to Cordovan, this event will not return. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Assuming Tellurian, that you were talking about the whatever I just said. Category 116. The Rangers Offensive. Got me curious, though, what that is. Well, that wasn't helpful. Oh, well. Was a special event which was held during Welcome Back weekends, during which a number of repeatable special events were available. There were a number of quests for every 5-level bracket, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50, and while these quests did not give XP, some of them did give reputation. 2 special quest givers were active during the event. Simplified a bonus XP on kills and offensive quests are not available. I actually think I remember seeing some of those promotional emails go out, encouraging people to come back. See if I can find that real fast. Huh. The link to see this email as a web page is not working for some reason. Let's see if I can't do a little snip here. There we go. Yeah, listserv.turbine.com, not working. So this is what it would have looked like, though. I think this was, 2008. Launched a year ago, and we want you to help us celebrate. That's why we're giving you free LOTRO access. Play your old characters, check out the LOTRO Anniversary Celebration events, explore new areas, and tackle new quests. Just log into your LOTRO account from May 8 to 12, 2008, and we'll take care of the fun and adventure. New region, explore the icy reaches of Forakel. Feel like going fishing? Excellent. For a limited time, become a LOTRO lifetime member for $200 and never pay a monthly fee again. So sad. It's funny, though, they're talking about locking in a monthly price of $9.99 per month, but their pricing now, if you do it the annual, is actually less than that, so. Okay. So, okay, Rangers Offensive. Probably can ignore that. That's great. We have a place to ignore these things. Let's come on into code. Somewhere, I have an ignore these things. Yeah, I just collapsed that, but I didn't mean to. Alright, so we're looking for a quest category of something. 116. Narnar says, best money I spend every year. Yeah, even though I miss out on the option of lifetime account or two, I often will compare these things to something like going to the movies, which even if you do it pretty cheaply, is still probably 20 or 30 money units of wherever you happen to live. And that is several months worth of a LOTRO subscription. So give up one trip to the movies and you got LOTRO for a quarter of a year. So per hour, per minute, per whatever unit of time, um, an annual subscription to LOTRO, if you're able to afford it, feels like pretty good bang for your buck. I think it's like 90 euros. I forget the exact amount. Maybe it's like 100 euros, but that turns out to be about 8 and a bit per month. And that's not nothing. And certainly if you're not able to afford that, no shame. The free-to-play options definitely available. But 8 money a month feels like very good economical entertainment. Okay, so we have a quest category 116. We're going to ignore anything in there. So we're going to go ahead and regenerate that, see what happens. You know, I meant to change this to not debugging. Oh well. Thank you, Delirian. Points out it's not 100, it's 89.99 because that 1 cent really matters. So basically 90 euros for 12 months, which turns into €7.5 per month. And now we're a 2 LOTRO account household, so for that, that's actually €15. But you kind of have to do that for most entertainment. If we both go to the movie, we're both buying a ticket, so it kind of scales up either way. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We can see that quest disappeared. Possibly other ones did as well. Awesome, thanks for calling out Tellurian to that event. Can be safely ignored. Which isn't to say that people can't have that quest completed in their quest log. It is just to say that if something, the Ranger's Offensive, whatever that quest was, if that is completed, we can safely assume that it is the deed, not... So Scouting Weathertop, or the German version of it, the exploration of Weathertop. If that is completed, we know it has to be the deed because the quest currently isn't active. Awesome. Super easy. Alright. The Lodern den Tieften. Okay. The Flaming Depths. Okay. Tell me more. Ah! It's the Flaming Deeps in deed form and the Flaming Depths in quest form. And they get resolved to the same thing in German because why would those be different? Yeah, Tellurian, exactly. The quest can't be completed now or in the future. Either it was completed or not. But it makes our logic easier. I'm trying to figure out if the thing that was just completed as quest or deed can't be the quest. Okay, so the Flaming Depths and the Flaming Deeps got coalesced into the same name in German. Fantastic. Now, this is category 82. So that is a quest category of Moria. Great. And the deed is category 17, which is Moria. Awesome. So, at least they're related. So we're going to come on in here and just double check what these things actually entail. They are probably different, non-overlapping objectives. Okay, Flaming Depths. Sometimes it's just easier to view these things with word wrap enabled. Okay, oh, this is a fellowship quest. Oh, this is a Grand Stair. Okay. So we're defeating 5 Firebrands and 10 Wrathcallers, and then Osir. No, talking to Osir. Okay. Yeah. So, Osir sent you to face the orc forces of the Fiery Depths of Moria. who came to the Grand Stair to pay their finish. Okay, cool. We have a basic objective that we can use. That's objective index 1. Let's see what we have there. Great. It's funny, Google thinks instead of Ausgeschrift, it should be Rausgeschrift. And I don't know enough German to know whether that is a meaningful thing to say. Cool, we're going to come on in here, and we're going to go ahead and annotate this. So the answer is, what was the question? So when I typed this into Google Translate just to make sure it was a reasonable thing, Außer hat ausgeschickt. Google's like, did you mean rausgeschickt with an R? And I was like, I don't know, probably not. I mean, mistranslations are always possible when we're talking about such things, but let me see if I can get it to reproduce on screen. Yeah, there we go. This is what I got. And it's like, did you mean this? And, you know, I don't care about the name, but rausgeschickt or ausgeschickt? And it's like, oh. Dagathy says, that's why I only use DeepL. Yeah, that's fair. You know, part of me is like, every time I use Google Translate for something silly like LOTRO data files, I feel like Google loses a few pennies of value. So I don't mind doing that. Okay. Cool. So we have a basic text. Great. We got to come back in and grab that quest value there. Great. And we're going to come up here, make a new entry. Now, this is actually in Moria, and we could do a quick little check and see, is 82 also Moria? It is. They did not localize Moria to anything in German. Great. And that's just the name here. Great. Tellurian clarifies that Ausgeschickt is like, hey, you should go there. And Rausgeschickt is more like, you bad boy, you know what you did wrong, and now leave. All right. That's a good distinction to have. So you Ausgeschickt to the Grand Scare, and you tell the orcs to Rausgeschickt. Okay, so we have the Lodernen Tieften. We're going to bring that on in. And we have Moria, the Lodernen Tieften. We have that comment. Is repeatable false. Great. And the quest name. And that's all we really need. We didn't actually include the name. Hellas. What's on the... And we'll go ahead and put it here as well. Okay, one more down. Distarca Disfindus. All right, let's find out more about that. And let's make sure we don't go AFK. Measure of Strength, which is category 208. Western Gondor Tarlang's Crown. Okay. And it's conflict with something that in English is strength of the enemy. But in German has been resolved to the same thing. So, measure of strength, let's start to define I think strength of the enemy is, yeah, okay. Okay, interesting. So, what's going on here? We have measure of strength, this is in Tarlang's Crown. We have strength of the enemy, this is a category 28 deed, which is Mines of Moria, which is the instances section. Okay, Filgashan. So that's defeating orc fighters within Filgashan. So we immediately know that we could have a level thing here, which is to say you're not defeating enemies in Tarlang's Crown unless you're near level 100. So if you're anywhere like, below level 90, this is probably the deed. So we could come back in. And Tillerian says Filgashan, if I recall correctly, absolutely. You had it. Okay, so this is definitely a conflict, one possibly resolvable by level. So we're going to come in and start adding some entries here. Okay, this is instances, and we have, do we have an example to copy? Instanzen, Mine van Moria. There we go. Perfect. And the actual name of the quest, Strength of the Enemies. Okay. What did we say the quest category was for this? Let's duck back in here. That was category 82, which was Moria. Awesome. And the category here, nope, I gotta go to the next one. That is category 208. Which is West Gondor Tarlang's Krona. Great. Cool. And now we just want to find a good description of what this quest is. So I'm going to hoist that out so I can do a word wrap with it, just this. Awesome. I love it when the description of the quest itself is sufficient for my purposes. Hardian wishes to assess the might of the Corsairs in Tarlang's Crown before engaging in a fully fledged battle. Done! I'm just going to grab that. Cool. And we'll go ahead and let this whole thing run again. Okay, so we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more places where there's a quest with the same name as a deed. not too bad. We already had some of them, as we can see in general, that were conflicted or I've already resolved before this stream. And the thing about this is, now that I have code to automatically detect them and produce this file, it's going to be much easier in future releases to check for those conflicts and to be able to add supplementary entries here. Okay. That being said, strength of the enemies here. Bam. We updated that. Yes. We updated this. And strength of the enemies. It's repeatable, false. Quest name, West Gondar, Tarlang's crown. And we have that text there. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and save that. Cool. We have a mismatch of that closing parentheses there. We'll just go ahead and tell it. We're getting so close to the Bee's Big Business there, Tellurian. We're almost there. All right, awesome. We're making great progress. Now, what this looks like in our source control is we're just seeing these new entries coming on in, and their corresponding entries down below. And the idea is because this is being generated by code, it should all be kind of correct out of the gate. Looks like I just added a new line there at the end. That's fine. In the English one. Okay. Die Waffen des Feindes. Something else about enemies. The enemy's arms. And arms of the enemies. Yeah, I can see where that would be translated the same. No. Just find me the thing. Alright, we have Die Waffen des Feindes. Okay. And Die Waffen des Feindes. Enemy's arms. The arms of the enemy. Yeah, sorry, German translator. That one's just bonkers. Okay, so what do we have? We have another Filgeshan. That one's just going to be causing all sorts of problems. And then we have... Don't recognize enough of that. Let's come on into the English one. Gath Forthnir. Karn Doom. Okay. Aragoth. Okay, bunkers. Alright, I kind of like this one. Throst devised a clever plan to steal supplies from the enemy and use them equipped resistance at Gath Forthnir. Yep, Tellurian well recognized the crate quest in Gath Forthnir. Okay, so that's objective 1 after whatever that is. So let's come into the German version of that. Objective 1. And there is our description. So we're going to come in here and not attack my goose. We're going to come on in here. Now, my one concern is that was a kind of a long one, so it might be nice to double check that we haven't made too large of a use of space here. All right, that is category 53, so let's make sure we have the right category here. 53, Beauregard. Name of the quest. Great. And then coming on up here, we have also that quest ID. And we needed to know what the deed category was. And that was category 28. That's probably going to be a Mines of Moria. Mines of Moria. So that's going to be Instanzen Minen van Moria. So one thing we can do is we can test this. We can just lie, just like we did before, and say we are definitely using German. So in our get client function, return DE. So we're always doing German. Cool. Then we're going to come on in to here. Let's find us. Cool. That's the quest that we're going to complete. And down here, die Waffen des Feindes. Cool. Let's check that description and make sure it's not too long. So coming on in here, we have our German deed tracker. And we're going to go ahead and complete this. Hélas, what's under? Now this is solvable in the sense that we do have the ability to do some sort of primitive auto detection to scale a text box to the or label to the right size. But if I could find a shorter version of that text, that would be fine. So let's look at these. Yeah, let's do the compound event, bring the weapons to Throst. That's fine. So let's come in to the quests here. We're looking for the compound event, bring the Waffen zu Throst. Okay, we're going to do that one instead. And it's actually probably a sign that we should shorten a number of these things. One thing at a time, though. So what that's going to look like is this one right here. Okay, so if we go ahead and unload detracker, load it on in, and complete. There we go. Urgarth, the weapons of the enemies, bring the weapons to Throst. Versus Mines of Moria. That seems pretty clear. Great. So, yeah, while we're at it, let's let that run in the background. Let's look at these other conflicting quests and ask ourselves if they are too long. So let's come on in here. Okay, that one's a little bit too long. Let's start from the top. This one's a little long, but I think it might be on the edge there. That one is fine. In fact, it can be longer than this. So anything that's... Okay, here's one that's longer. Oh, that one is probably a class quest. Okay, this one's Breland. That is going to be more likely. There we go. That one's a little bit long. Not too long, though. But it does mean that this one's too long. Okay. That one's only too long by a couple of... Okay, so we're really looking at about yay tall, which is... We're about column 160 here. Beyond that, the space that we're working with isn't as large as we would like it to be. But could it be? Let's go take a look at the code real fast. Conflicting quests. Tell us more. Cillian says, which text do you want to shorten? I actually don't want to shorten them necessarily. Like, this is probably fine. I just want it to not be cut off in the UI. So I'm going to go look to the disambiguate window and figure out where that's getting drawn. All right, add conflicting quest if present. So do we have a label? Let's figure out if we're looking at the right thing. Oh, quest row. Okay. Quest level title. Great. We're going to set a back color here just to make sure. That said back color turbine.ui.color. I don't know. What are we feeling today? Dark orchid? How about dark turquoise? It's not dark! Why do these things say dark? No! Maybe it's dark for turquoise. Okay. Whatever I just did, didn't do it. So whatever's going on here, we're not getting what I thought we would. Add conflicting quest if present. Okay, what's going on here? Complete something with both a deed and quest asking user. Yeah? I don't have, thorough logging on. That would definitely help. Alright. Complete something with both a deed and a quest asking user to choose. Great. Quest title. Where is quest title being used? It's being used here. Alright, let's choose a better background color. Maybe I'm just being too weird with my background colors. And also maybe autofit is doing something weird. So, we have blue and we have green. Let's do it. Okay, that's just weird. We have a 4 color. Okay. doing something wrong. Yeah, Tellurian, I'm attempting to do it the right way instead of a workaround. But I'm also making changes and I'm not seeing it reflected in the UI. And usually what that means is I have found the wrong place to make my code changes and I think I'm doing it right, but I'm not. So, we know that we're seeing this message. Do we see this message anywhere else? No, it's the disambiguate window. Okay, let's debug. Am I here? Question mark. Because I feel like it's one of those weirdnesses. I'm doing something weird. Exactly. I didn't see that. Asking user to choose. Asking user to choose. What in the... Cool. That same text does appear in two places. What on earth? Or am I here? Hey, I am there. Cool. Okay. So, we are going into the deed or quest dialog. Okay. What the heck is a deed or quest dialog? Deed or quest window. I have a deed or quest window and I have a disambiguate window. That makes me cry inside. Something for the future. Yeah. Let's hoist that up. I have a disambiguate and a deed or quest window, and I don't know why. But we're using the deed or quest window. So, one thing we can do that can be interesting is just compare the two and see what's going on. So, deed or quest window on the one hand, and disambiguate window on the other. There's definitely some similarities. And disambiguate has a lot more going on, which concerns me, because it means whatever is using the deed or quest is missing something. But mock deed out, we're going to go ahead and okay, conflict, nope, we have deed or quest window. We're going to go ahead and open the disambiguate window and pull in some of those changes. Specifically the colors here. Let's see if that does a thing. Hey, okay. So, what do we see here? We have used the autofit label here, and we're using the get height. So the real question is, what's this in? This is in quest row, and quest row itself is never changing its size. So let's go ahead and quest row set back color turbine.ui.color dot something interesting. Deep pink. Fantastic. So that one to me seems like dark pink. I don't know. Coming in here, completing that, and we can see that one extends, but it doesn't extend as far down as we want. And that's because quest row, we never update itself. And it sure seems like we should. So, quest row contains quest button and quest title. Position of that is... Yeah, okay. So the height of quest row set height should be the same as the height of this thing. Let's give that a try. Hey, the whole thing fits. Fantastic. It also is like the color of the Joker. Alright, so the Old Forest, German conflict here, we can see all of that. Great. And now coming back into... conflicting quests, let's find another long one in German. There we go. Oh, that's that class race epic. No, that should be fine. That is not a class. Okay. Okay, we get to see all of it. Great. That is good for me. I am still concerned that we have two different classes that seem to be doing the same thing. That is a problem for another time. Alright, and last experiment. That'll work. Okay, now to get rid of that color scheme, and to that we're going to come into the deed or quest window, and we're going to go ahead and discard the back color of deep pink, and we're going to discard the back color of green, but we're going to keep that set height. We need that. Take updated quest label height, make use of updated quest label height. So that is an actual bug fix for this. Alright, we're also going to go ahead and kill that green. We're going to kill that and delete that. Okay. We're back. So now we no longer have the color scheme showing us the extent of our different objects, but we can still see all of the text for that. Perfect. Coming back in. So we are looking at the next thing. Now, we are coming up on 2 hours of this stream, but I wanted to give you a sense of what does it look like to kind of track down these conflicting quests, whether it's in English or in another language, because we can use these IDs to kind of cross-reference and actually look at the data in the language of choice, but then kind of backtrack that and be like, okay, this text works, let's use the translated version of this text. So filling out these conflicting quests is kind of formulaic. For each one, we just find the quest and deed. We can look up both the English and the German, and then fill out the relevant information. And again, some of that is automatable, but some of this is harder. You know, picking which of these pieces of text would work. Like, you can have a UI kind of present it to the user, but someone has to write that code. And the amount of time it takes to write it versus just do this one time It's kind of a toss-up. And I enjoy showing off the process here. So we'll do one or two more of these here on stream, and then I think that'll do it for us today. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns about LOTRO in general, D tracker or plugins in specific, now's a great time to get it there into chat, and we'll keep on going with Eisen Magen, which really looks like own stomach in Dutch. Stomach of iron. Eisen. It's IJ in Dutch. I didn't see it. Eisenmachen. I was looking, yeah, at a different form. So, iron stomach. Eisenmachen. And then we're looking for those same things in German. Oh, Eigen. I had the wrong word anyway. Okay. Stomach of iron. And iron stomach. Apologies to whatever translator had to deal with that. Okay, and what are these things? Iron stomach is a category 35. Of course, that was one of the new ones that was introduced. And the quest is Scumful. Bring the innards of stuff. Handful of insect innards. Okay. That's definitely a conflict, and that's actually a relatively new conflict because the iron stomach got introduced in Corsairs of Umbar, I think. Yep. To there, and you have it exactly. The deed for eating the cooking stuff from Umbar and the Barrowbree. So, excellent. Let's go ahead and mark this as legitimate. But not in that window. Cool. Okay, so the quest, I should say the deed, Iron Stomach, this is category 35. So that is a reputation. And you know what? I would like deed category of German. So that is a rough. Really? Yeah, okay. So that's reputation. But we know it's class, race, epic. And then we can pull in that name. Eisenmachen. Cool. And you know what? Let's copy a few of these down below as well. Okay, down here we're looking for the quest category. The quest category for this was 82, and that is Moria. Cool. That gives us the name. And now we just need a reasonable snippet of this. Bring the innards to Tentlin at the Shadowed Refuge. Perfect. That's the NPC talk progress override. Good enough for me. Okay, so now that we've done Eisenmachen, Iron Stomach, or Stomach of Iron, we are going to move on to Busy Bee. And Busy Bee will be our last one for the evening. Now, you can just imagine doing this also for French and for Russian, and then it'll be complete for the near future. They don't introduce too many conflicts in each release. Iron Stomach and Stomach of Iron was just one of them, but I think most of these have been there for a while. Okay, so that's machen. And Class Race Epic, Reputation, Eisenmachen, and then this is Moria Eisenmachen. Great. Bee's Big Business. And coming on in for the deed as well. The Busy Bee. Okay, so we know this is definitely a conflict, but we know one of them is a skirmish quest, and that could give us an announcement that we can come back in. That one's going to be a little harder to test because we need to have the skirmish available to us, but just getting into the system is a good start. So, this is Bee's Big Business, and we're going to come in and first of all mark it as a skirmish quest. Actually, I say it's a skirmish. Let's double check with 55. It's technically Spring Festival. Hang on a sec. Make sure I understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, pollinate the fee. Yes, okay. It is pretty sure it counts as a skirmish quest. We're going to go ahead and count it for now. Okay, then we have our entries. Okay, and then in here, we're going to go ahead and locate. This is category 55, as we saw. So that is going to be Spring Festival. And the deed category, that is going to be category 35, which is also going to be Reputation. So we'll just grab that. Okay. So now we just need the textual description of what's going on for this quest. It is time to pollinate the meadows. Yeah, that's fine. So, quest. Es ist Zeit, de Wiesen zu bestauben. Okay. Or bestauben? Probably not. Okay, let's let that think about all those files, churn through it all. Well, Tellurian, I can only tell you what it is offering me. Oh, the meadows. Pollinate the meadows, the Wiesen. For whatever reason, they chose meadows instead. Huh. Why is my computer looking frozen? I gotta say, I've got a very frozen looking computer here. I'm curious which parts of these are actually frozen. Well, neat. It seems to continue to be working. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, I think I know what was going wrong. And that's my bad. Okay. Software trial I was running on, I think, decided it was done. Turian says, Ist is German, not English. Yeah, it's fine. Ist and is are so close. It's great. Okay. So, coming back in here, we have Busy Bees, and this is a... Is repeatable? Yes. It's a skirmish. We have a quest name. It is time to pollinate the meadows. Great. Okay. So, we're going to bring the stream to an end there. But that's the basic process. Find the items, make sure it makes sense. Maybe it's a quest that no longer is in existence, so it's not an issue. That can always be. And then do the small amount of programmatic stuff that could be done, which is grabbing the information for this comment here, which tells us the deed, fully qualified deed name. The comment here, which is the quest category, and the quest name should be the same thing. But then the description, which does take a little bit of a human decision about which things to do. Otherwise, you could get some very large blocks of text, and that's it. If it is a skirmish quest, that's a special category where you can kind of expect some sort of a textual announcement that you did it, you saved us, quest complete, that you could use to eliminate that quest. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward process. This is actually an example here of the announcement text for Rescue and Nurskashu. As you see this, and that tells you that the quest is getting completed. And there's even an is delayed flag if the two of them are separated by some amount of time. Oftentimes they happen simultaneously, and that's very useful. Okay. But that's that. That's conflicting quests, and my goal is to completely finish German, French, and Russian prior to the next deed tracker release. But I do want to get the deed tracker release out there because we have a bunch of new deeds for new areas. So this is a near future kind of thing. Definitely want to get it out before January is done. And if I make enough progress over the weekend, maybe it'll be next Tuesday, but definitely soon, TM. But that's it. That's what that looks like. All right. And nothing more in chat. So that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right. Bye-bye now.